Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare. I find that an atheist, that is what needs to be done to help the poor, the weak, the vulnerable, and the sick, is far more of God than the people who show up to church every Sunday and do nothing more than that. Hey everybody, welcome to AskReddit. People ask Reddit. Atheists of Reddit, what is one thing you admire about religion? Religious people of Reddit, what is one thing you admire about atheism? Number 1. As an atheist, I admire religious people's ability to have faith. I sometimes wonder what being able to have faith is like, as I'm a person that needs a logical explanation for everything. Faith brings people, or at least it seems like it does to me, great comfort and ease of mind. Number 2. I appreciate atheists' willingness to ask questions and work through the things that challenge them about faith. I'm a believer, so obviously we don't come to the same conclusions, but I think too many of my brothers and sisters bury the stuff about their faith that they struggle with. That can both hurt their walk and make them come off as sanctimonious. I say that because that was me, once upon a time. Some days, it still is. It's a work in progress. Matthew 7:7 says, "Ask, and it will be given to you, seek, and you will find, knock, and it will be open to you." Too often believers don't want to ask tough questions, but I think it's important to do so. If the Christian God is who he claims to be, I have to imagine he can handle honest questions from someone seeking to understand. Number 3. Commenter. I remember in childhood we would go to church once a week with the whole class. Our teacher was very religious, so she would read the Bible to us. I remember I once asked my mom questions I had, the things that make no sense. My mom tried to answer all my questions at first, but then told me that religion is all about belief. First step to my atheism: you can't just ask me to believe in something without making it at least sound plausible. If I had to continue being religious, I will have to close my eyes on things I don't understand. This is against my mindset. I think it is also what I appreciate about religious people: they don't need to close eyes, they just believe it by heart. The ability I just never had. Person B. I know exactly what you mean. I was sort of raised believing in God and whatnot, went to a Catholic high school, and one of the things that made me an atheist was the way the parish priest seemed to be afraid of kids asking hard questions about God. Finding videos of Christians being owned was abundant, but I couldn't find any well thought out Christian answers. I've since found out that there's actually a tremendous amount of intelligent answers to the questions I was asking. I'm a traditional Catholic now. But it still frustrates me. They should have had the knowledge and the courage to let kids ask hard questions and answer them with sound reasoning, and if they had, I probably never would have fallen away from the faith. But oh well. It's in the past now. Number 4. Christian here. I really admire the fact that many atheists try to do good things for the community, like service projects, volunteerism, fundraisers, because they truly care and want to be a good person all on their own. To clarify further, many Christians are also like this, but I feel a good majority are like this because their church told them they should do it because it pleases God, or they want to go to heaven, or their small group was doing it and they want to fit in. Granted, some atheists do good things to pat themselves on their back via social media, but many others do it because they feel it's the right thing to do and aren't trying to benefit themselves in some way. That's the sign of a truly good person. Number 5. Commenter. This. So much of this. I find that an atheist, that is what needs to be done to help the poor, the weak, the vulnerable, and the sick, is far more of God than the people who show up to church every Sunday and do nothing more than that. If God is just, and I believe him to be, he will let those atheists into heaven far before any self-righteous yet unrighteous Christians, faster than I can say Bob. That people who believe the world to exist by happenstance and to mean nothing in the end still strive to do the Lord's work, well, that's beyond admirable. Person B. I'm honestly at a loss for words. I'm atheist, but your comment was still very comforting. Even after all of my questioning that led to the personal decision that a God does not exist, it still warms my heart to know that if I end up being wrong, that it might not be a big deal in the end. I'm also very grateful that people like you exist. We need more of those focused on the good and kind actions rather than just devotion. Thank you. Person C. Marcus Aurelius said something to similar effect that you might like. Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods, but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but will have lived a noble life that will live on in the memories of your loved ones. Number 6. Commenter. I'm atheist and my grandma was extremely religious. My uncle, her son, died a few years ago and it killed her. She ended up getting diagnosed with leukemia and given a slim chance to survive. She was 100% fine with it because in her mind she was going to see her son and sisters in heaven. I wish I could have that. Person B. The only time my lack of religion has bothered me is when my mom died. Suddenly I was jealous of those people who believe in an afterlife where they will see their loved ones again. I didn't have that luxury. And it was painful. Person C. I try to not think of someone being gone. Both sets of my grandparents are getting on in years, and it would not be out of the question for any of them to pass away in the next few years. I try to think of their living legacy, their descendants. They're never truly gone if they've left behind children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. If they didn't leave behind biological descendants, then there are people that they've impacted in some way at some point. I don't hope that my family gets into heaven, I hope to see their descendants succeed and be good people. I don't hope to get into heaven one day, I hope to create a positive impact with my own life, and to leave a legacy that will do the same. Number 7. Commenter. I admire how some churches provide support for the needy with food pantries, soup kitchens and shelter. Person B. By and large, this is awesome. The service to the most vulnerable is incredible. Some Christian charity comes with too many strings, but at the hardest end it is amazing. Person C. Right. It can be done the right way or the wrong way. In the college town I went to school, there was a pantry run out of a Lutheran church near campus that was a no questions asked service. You walk in and take what you need. However, there was also a food pantry run by a church that was the most well known in the city. They opened the doors at 2 p.m., made people sit through a church service, and then would allow them to get food. Number 8. Commenter. I'm atheist. I admire their sense of community. Person B. Atheist here, and I completely agree. I went with one of my friends to their all-black church when I was younger. There was a lot of emphasis on community projects discussed in their service, and we even took a break in the middle for everyone to converse with each other and catch up. I could tell this church was filled with good people. However, my grandmother's Assembly of the God Church was filled with a bunch of old racist people. So it definitely depends on the community. Number 9. Commenter. As an atheist, I admire that religion can provide a source of strength, community, and hope for people. Through religion, people find the courage and hope to continue a mundane or excessively taxing existence. People also develop lifelong friendships and support communities through church groups and other religious organizations. I believe these aspects are important to have in one's life. If religion can provide that for some people, then I think that's a great thing. Person B. That's the reason my aunt, who was a lifelong atheist, joined a church in her later years. She had moved to a small town, and even though I recall she had always been an atheist during my growing up years, she joined a church in that town. She never mentioned her atheism, and I suppose they never asked. I suppose they simply assumed she believed. I think she joined purely for pragmatic, mental and emotional health, and social safety reasons. And by all accounts it was extremely good for her on all those fronts. Number 10. Commenter. As a Christian, I admire atheists for their self-control. We twist our own laws and word from God too much. Person B. Funny, I actually admire religious people for their self-control as well. Like going to church every Sunday. Making time for something that is not necessarily fun every week is something that I don't think I'll be able to do. Number 11. As a Christian, I admire that atheists do good things just for the sake of doing good things. There is no thought of a reward coming in the afterlife, of the fear of eternal punishment for not doing them. I had another Christian say to me once, what would be the point obeying the commandments if heaven and hell aren't real? Not my beliefs, but it is for many. Number 12. Atheist here. The sheer community around religion is pretty cool. My girlfriend and her family are very religious though. One of the old ladies at her church was dying, had at most a week to live, and one of her last requests was for my girlfriend's brother to come sing to her one last time in the hospital. She loved his voice from the choir. He came, she ultimately fell asleep, and died as he was still singing. Number 13. Muslim here. Admire how atheists are simply living their lives. No fear of anything. Also, all the atheists that I've met are good people, and when I mean good I mean charitable and genuine loving people. They do good for the purpose of good. I try as much as possible to emulate that. Number 14. It's a little difficult to explain, and I am sure people on both sides will roll their eyes at me, but prayer. Just not in the way most people think of prayer. Hear me out. When someone you love is going through a hard time, Sometimes there is literally nothing you can do. Some problems can't be helped by outside people. For whatever reason. That happens. And it really effing sucks. It really effing sucks watching someone you care about suffer. At the same time, it really effing sucks watching your loved ones worry about you if you're the one who is suffering and can't be helped. I hate it so effing much watching someone I care about struggle and I can't do shit. I hate it so much when someone I care about wants to help me and they can't. I worry about them and feel like shit I can't do anything. Or I am having to watch them worry about me since there isn't anything they can do. The phrase, sending my love, or sending warm thoughts your way, accomplishes so little. But sometimes when you feel so helpless, that's all you can say. That's all you can do. And then come in religious people who have the power of prayer. Even though as an atheist, I feel that sending you my love accomplishes the same thing as you're in my prayers. I'm still a little jealous of that ability, of prayer. When someone I care about genuinely says, I'll pray for you. To me, I do get some comfort. Yeah, I don't think it will solve my problems, but I believe they believe that it will. The person I care about will worry about me a little less. And I take comfort in that. I do also feel loved when someone says, I'm sending you warm thoughts. To me, but having been in that position myself, I worry that they will be worrying over me. And there have been many times where someone I care about is religious and I wish I could say, I'll pray for you. Because I know that would mean a lot to them. I know they would get some comfort for that. But as an atheist, it would be a lie for me to say it. And then the words, I'm sending you warm thoughts, feel so empty in comparison. I hope that makes sense. And obviously I mean it on an individual level. Certainly not to a community tragedy. Yeah. I don't think prayer actually solves a problem, but I can recognize the comfort it gives some people, and sometimes I wish I could provide that too in times where there isn't anything else. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.